The little alien girl stood at the edge of the marketplace, her large silver eyes scanning the crowd. The twin sons of Vera, six cast long shadows across the metallic streets, reflecting off the iridescent scales covering her small body. She clutched a tattered piece of fabric in her tiny hands, a remnant of the only home she had ever known. "Where's my father?" she asked, her voice trembling. The woman beside her, a tall, broad-shouldered Varen with deep blue skin and dark ridged markings running down her forehead, looked down at her. Her eyes softened with sympathy before she turned and pointed to a man standing in the middle of the square. "There," she said simply. The girl's gaze followed the woman's outstretched hand, landing on a human man, tall, with dark hair streaked with silver, his face lined with years of hardship. He wore a worn-out flight jacket, its insignia long faded, and a look of exhaustion that seemed permanent. The little girl's heart pounded. This was the man her mother had spoken of before she vanished. The man who had saved them once, long ago. Her father, a man with a past. The human man, Captain Elias Thorne, had no idea a pair of silver eyes were watching him. He was too busy arguing with a Varen merchant over the price of fuel cells. His ship, the Odyssey, was barely holding together, and he had spent the last of his credits keeping it afloat. "That's twice the standard rate," Elias said, scowling. "And the standard rate doesn't apply when you're this desperate," the merchant retorted with a smirk. Elias sighed and rubbed his temples. He had been wandering the outer rim of the galaxy for years, trying to stay ahead of his past, trying to forget a decision he had made long ago. And then a voice, small, hesitant but clear. "Are you my father?" Elias froze. Slowly, he turned, and his gaze met the girl's. She was Varen, clearly young, maybe 6 or 7 in human years. But her silver eyes, those eyes, were hauntingly familiar. He had seen them before, long ago on a battlefield. The woman beside her spoke. "Captain Thorne, this child is looking for you." "I don't have a kid," Elias said, his voice rough. "Then why does she have her DNA?" Elias blinked. "What?" The woman held out a small hollow device. With a tap, a projection flickered to life, a genetic scan. Elias saw the results, his name, and the unmistakable percentage indicating a direct blood relation. His breath caught. No, it couldn't be. A forgotten truth. Elias staggered back, memories flooding him like a tidal wave. A mission, a war. The planet Vera, 6 burning under the siege of the Imperial Dominion. And her, a Varen scientist named Aaron. She had saved his life when his ship crashed. They had spent months together in hiding, surviving amidst the destruction. He had promised to get her to safety. But when the Dominion closed in, he had made a choice. A deal. He had traded his escape for hers. She had disappeared into the stars, and he had never seen her again. Now, standing before him, was proof that she had lived. Proof that, somewhere out there, she had given birth to their child. His child. Elias swallowed hard. "Where's Aaron?" The woman's expression darkened. "Gone. Taken by the Dominion 3 years ago." A heavy silence fell between them. Elias looked down at the girl. She was still watching him, hopeful and afraid all at once. Her small hand reached out, and something inside him cracked. A new mission. Elias had spent years running. From his past. From his mistakes. But he couldn't run from this. He crouched down, hesitantly taking her small hand in his. "What's your name?" "Lyra," she whispered. Elias exhaled slowly. Aaron had named her. She had given her their daughter's name, one they had spoken about under the Varen moons, before war tore them apart. A name meant for a star traveler, for a survivor. "All right, Lyra," Elias said, his voice softer now. "We're getting off this rock." The woman, the one who'd been taking care of Lyra, nodded. "She's yours to protect now, just like Aaron wanted." Elias looked at his daughter, and made a silent promise. He had failed Aaron. He wouldn't fail Lyra. The chase begins. Elias led Lyra through the crowded streets, his mind racing. If the Dominion had taken Aaron, they would come for Lyra, too. He needed to get her off-world. Fast. But as they neared the docking bay, he spotted them. Imperial enforcers. Black armor, faceless helmets, pulse rifles at their sides. They were already here. Elias swore under his breath. He scooped Lyra up and darted into an alleyway, his heart pounding. "Hold on," he whispered. Shots rang out behind them. Elias dodged through the maze of neon-lit streets, keeping to the shadows. Lyra clung to him, silent but trusting. "She doesn't even know me," he thought. "And yet, she trusts me." They reached the docking bay just as the alarms blared. The Odyssey stood ahead, its hull patched with repairs, its engines barely functional. It would have to do. Elias sprinted up the ramp, hitting the controls. "Strap in." Lyra scrambled into a seat as the engines roared to life. The Dominion soldiers burst onto the platform. "Thorne," one of them barked. "Surrender the child." Elias smirked. "Not a chance." The ship jolted as he punched the thrusters, blasting out of the docking bay. The force pressed them into their seats as they rocketed into the sky. Behind them, the Dominion ships gave chase. A final stand. Elias weaved through the asteroid belt surrounding Vera, 6, adrenaline pumping. The Dominion ships fired, streaks of red slicing through the darkness. "Hold on, Lyra." He maneuvered between the rocks, dodging laser fire. The ship groaned under the strain, alarms blaring. One shot grazed the hull, and the Odyssey shuddered. Elias clenched his jaw. He had to lose them. And then, an idea. He angled the ship toward the densest part of the asteroid field, flipping a switch on the console. "Lyra, hit that button on the panel," he called. She hesitated, then pressed it. The ship's rear thrusters ignited in a sudden burst, kicking up a cloud of debris. The Dominion ships flew straight into it. Elias watched as they collided with the asteroids, explosions tearing through the darkness. Silence. They were alone. Lyra let out a breath. Elias did too. They had made it. A new beginning. As the stars stretched before them, Elias turned to Lyra. "You all right, kid?" She nodded. "Are they gone?" "For now." Lyra looked at him. "Are you really my father?" Elias hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah." She was quiet for a moment. Then she reached out again, taking his hand. "Okay," she said simply. Elias felt something shift inside him. For the first time in years, he wasn't running. He was heading towards something. A future. With her. He gave her hand a gentle squeeze. "Let's go find your mother." And together, they disappeared into the stars.